Hello. In a desperate situation, and often in philosophy classes, you weigh one improbable situation against another, and you weigh one worthy group against another. And of course, there is never an answer. And at the moment, we're seeing the beginning of the blame game in Afghanistan played out on the world stage. Yes, we know the buck stops with Biden, but there are many other people to blame on the way because those people who should really have been taking responsibility and taking proper decisions were sunning themselves on the beach or were simply unprepared. Both of those situations, both of those things are not excuses. They are an admission of failure. And people should be resigning. I think I have quite a long list of people I would like to see resigning on a point of honour, but they're not going to do it. And instead there are easy targets that they can focus on instead. One of them particularly is Farthing. I spoke about him the other day. He had 170 rescue animals to get out of Afghanistan. Now, it really is very important that one realises the Taliban, in their previous administration, made it very clear that they didn't accept pets in any form. So these animals had no future in Afghanistan. And these animals were dependent on us. And we should take that responsibility seriously. But equally, we should take responsibility for the humans that were dependent on us. The many, many, many human beings. We know their names, the translators, the interpreters, the fixers. We know their names. Instead of the British contacting them, they seem to have been obliged to contact the British embassy and to run to the airport with whatever paperwork was considered appropriate. We should have transferred all of that administration to a third country. We should have got them out as fast as possible and then worried about whether or not they deserved asylum in the UK. In most cases, of course, they probably would. And we should have been very careful about applying technicalities. We certainly there should never have been any question of the most appalling statement that why would my 5-year-old not merit a flight and your dog would. That's the most appalling choice. I don't think, in fact, it's a genuine choice. I think the people that I know in Afghanistan, their families simply haven't been able to get to the airport. It's not a matter of a choice by British officials at the gate. I think it's disappointing that Farthing had an outburst with an MOD official, but I can understand how that might have happened. His papers were stopped by Afghan bureaucracy. I hope Britain didn't contribute to that. But as I say, the delays that were caused by our love of red tape, and it really is a love that has grown in the last 20 years in almost every area of our life. Our love of red tape has got in the way of action. And this is the case, really, whatever you're doing. We are just in a constant holding position while people fill out papers. I've seen this work superbly in some Eastern European countries. The paperwork means nothing. In Britain, we think it actually is of value. So it doubles the problem because in Eastern Europe, people just find another way of avoiding it. And they don't take it seriously. We take it seriously, and we seem to have been smothered by it. We need to change. We need to reset the clock. We need to think about what we're going to do with red tape. But at the same time, so many people in Afghanistan have actually been left behind. If we can do a little good, we should do a little good. If that energizes public opinion with looking after animals, that's great. I cannot imagine that animals in the hold were taking places that could otherwise have been taken by people. And equally, I cannot imagine that Farthing and his animals were taking up time that could have been taken by people. Boris is saying that he got everybody out, that he was going to get out, and we need to take that seriously. This conversation, and the conversation, for example, with Arlene Foster on GB News, which I've just caught, it's just horrific. It's all about blame, and it's shameful. We should be celebrating what little success we've had, and there's not very much to celebrate. And at the same time, rather than shifting blame elsewhere, people like Dominic Raab and Ben Wallace should be considering their position. And maybe if they cannot, the Prime Minister needs to consider his as well. And you know, there are communities in Afghanistan who have gone largely unnoticed in the press. The Christian community in Afghanistan, the very small Christian community, and the gay community, which we of course have encouraged, these people are living in terror. And of course those people who are not quite translators, who are not quite reporters, who are not quite translators or fixers or interpreters, but often are reporters. What is their position? Those people who have embraced our Western lifestyle, many of those are now in hiding. We should be taking responsibility for those. I do not see how they're going to get out of the country. And some of them are my friends. I take this very seriously. As I say, I'm just horrified by the blame game that is beginning to play out, and I don't think we've heard the end of it. People like Nigel Farage, Arlene Foster, they should know better than to encourage this sort of nastiness. We've had enough nastiness. We need a little bit of positivity.